Leslie's trying to cover up her double chin, but girl's got a double chin, so let's double chin it. For fuck's sakes. Okay. Hey folks, my name's Leslie. We've probably not been formally introduced yet. I am a reconnecting Celtic witch. I am reconnecting roots on Turtle Island on Mashiki Minisee. And my whole spiritual investigation and healing path is based in ancestral healing and rooting and Re-Enchantment and Tree Chasak. All right, that was a lot. If you are a Celtic descendant on Turtle Island or in Australia, on Aotearoa, New Zealand, Aotearoa, I might have stuff you're interested in. I might be sharing things that you're interested in. Because there's literally 12 million of us that have essentially been cut off from our animistic cultural and spiritual roots, cut off from our wisdom, cut off from our being and belonging in the world. If you have any attraction to witchiness, to dark things, magic, and you're Celtic, it's a very natural, it's your ancestral lineage, actually. It's your actual inheritance as an embodied spiritual being in the world. And so I just, that's what I talk about over here. I talk about that in all kinds of different ways. And it is the combination of our Celtic reconnecting to our roots, our reconnecting to Celtic roots, and rooting on our new homelands, because we're not in Ireland anymore. By the way, if you're not sure what Celtic means, Celtic is a New World word for Irish, Scottish, English, Welsh, Manx, Island of Man. All of those fall under the collective umbrella of Celtic that I resonate with as someone who is now living for several generations on Turtle Island. Our cousins on our indigenous homelands in Ireland and in Scotland and in Wales and England may have different words to refer to themselves. Protani is a word that I've heard. Crunia is also a word that I've heard. I'm not a scholar. Okay, I do read. I am interested in reading the history. There's an enormous amount to be gained about our cultural inheritance in the books, in the academics that are available, but I'm not an academic, I'm not a scholar. And I'm not going to debate scholarly history or academics, because I come to this information primarily through spirit and through feeling. And this is another Celtic cultural inheritance. We are mystical people. We have been mystical people for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. We've just been cut off. And this is the re-enchantment that's happening. This is the reconnection to the mystic in our lives, in our ancestral lineage, the mystic in life right now, the magic that's available. Man, this was not the beginning that I thought I was going to have, but fuck it. You know what? It is what it is. Who gives a shit? Who fucking gives a shit? Let's just go. So I want to talk about this Christmas time. For Celts, for us, our Celtic peoples, the time between Samhain and the solstice, Grianstad and Yauri, is not what's happening in the world right now. What happens in this corporate capitalistic hellscape is completely an antithesis to what is called for naturally and spiritually and emotionally, and what calls to you in embodiment, which is interior reflection. Okay, Samhain is our new year. Samhain is the beginning of the new year, and it basically marks activity, the end of activity. If you think of us as being connected to the land, which we are, by the way, you belong to the land. The land doesn't belong to you. You belong to the land. So when we think of ourselves as belonging to land and participating in a cycle of activity and rest, Samhain marks the end of a cycle of activity. So if you think about growing food and the harvest and fruiting and flowering and fruiting and all of that stuff, Samhain is like, all right, time to wrap it up, harvest it up, wrap it up, put the stores away. It's going to get dark. It's going to get cold. And it's time to be inside. And it's time to reconnect to ourselves, to the darkness inside. Don't be afraid of the dark. Connect to the darkness inside and reconnect to our place in relationship to our community, to the world at large, to the cosmos. These are things that our ancestors participated in and engaged with and had relationship with for thousands and thousands of years. This is our spiritual inheritance. I'm going to keep saying this over and over again because this is our spiritual inheritance. This is our spiritual inheritance. Connection and relationship with land and cycles, and discovering and uncovering and reconnecting to our relationship and our place in the larger world. That's what this time is. It's also time for reconnecting to the stories of our people, reconnecting to the stories of our spiritual foundations, of our cultural foundations. You can find those stories in the four major cycles of Irish folklore and Scottish folklore. But I want to ask you right now, what stories do you go back to during this time? There are probably stories that you feel called to revisit when the darkness comes in, when it's wintertime, when it's time to reflect and retreat from the world. Because literally this isn't a time to be going crazy and stressed out over so-called corporate, capitalistic, commercial Christmas. This is bullshit. Like, it's utter fucking bullshit. It really is. And it is an antithesis to what your soul and your body is needing at this time. What we need is togetherness. What we need is to come into community with one another and spend time and share stories and tell truths about our lives, to reflect on what's happened in the last year. That's what this time is for, is to reflect on what happened in this past year. What went well? What did we get wrong? Where are we amiss? Are we still aligned with purpose? Are we still aligned with vocation? Are we still connected to re-enchantment? Are we still in cycle with Trí Chasak? These are the questions. These are the real questions. This is the real meaning of this time, of Christmas time. Okay, so this is story time. This is the dark time. Story time happens until spring. Okay? It's story time. It's story time. And these stories, this is a time of repair and reconnection. Okay, like literally and spiritually and emotionally, all the levels. We are spiritual, mental, emotional, physical beings. And all of the things need to be taken care of for health. This is the time of retreat, reflection, reconnection. It's the time of repair. So it's the time of story time. So what are the stories that call to you during this time? What stories do you go back to year after year after year and feel a need to revisit? These stories have wisdom for you. Your entire life is a buffet of wisdom to you if you're willing to see life filled with messages. This is also our spiritual inheritance as a Celt. Our entire lives were filled with Tor, which is prophecy or oracle or messages. The expectation was that we went out into the world and the world communicated with us. Your life is filled with wisdom for you if you choose to see it as wisdom. If you choose to see everything as heart wisdom. Glaucus chlia. Glaucus chlia. Leslie struggles with the Gallic. Glaucus chlia. Heart wisdom. Glaucus chlia. Glaucus chlia. Glaucus chlia. It's wisdom heart, or wisdom of the heart. Heart wisdom. Glaucus chlia. Glaucus chlia. If we're willing to walk through the world with heart wisdom, everything in our lives offers us knowledge, offers us teaching. Everything. So what are the stories that you are attracted to in this time of darkness? What stories do you go back to? So what stories? What stories do you want to be told? What stories do you need? What stories are you called to come into relationship with again, over and over and over again in this winter time of stories? And what are the messages in those stories? What's the theme? What's the arc of learning? Because it applies. Every year it will apply to you to ask yourself those same questions, to reflect on how you are living those truths in your life out loud in the world. Have you strayed from what you believe in? Are you being dishonest with yourself or with others? Are you resisting change? Are you resisting wisdom? Are you resisting wisdom? This is part of this time of dark reflection. Don't be afraid of the dark. Don't be afraid of the deep. The scary things in life are often there to show us what we don't know yet. I hate the idea of the world as a school and we're here to learn lessons, because it sounds so fucking harsh. Because our understanding and experience of education in this world is it's awful. It's not based on any inner direction. It's not based in spirit or in any kind of feeling sense. It's a very authoritarian, oppressive system to mold you into a cog that fits into a capitalist wheel. So from that perspective, I hate the idea of life as a classroom, because it's bullshit. The part of learning, though, the part of learning that happens here is we learn about ourselves and we learn about how spirit expresses in the world. And our pain and our suffering are calls to look closer to what we aren't accepting or what we aren't understanding as being part of the wholeness of love and spirit. Byron Katie says, things in the world, it's either love or it's a call for love. Those are the only two options that we have. And that has worked very well in my life to steer me back to sitting with uncomfortable feelings. Like literally, I think sitting with uncomfortable feelings is the most powerful, wise action. It's the most powerful, wise, loving act that we can do in the world is to just be with uncomfortable feelings. Just be with them without judgment, without rejection or resistance, to just allow, because there's so much wisdom, and that's heart wisdom. That's what John Donahue told me. By the way, I'm a medium. I talk with spirit. I am, according to Joan, well, this is her word, which I love, I am an alumni of the University of the Unseen. Oh, I love that so much. She also says that words mean things. And I love that too. She's great. Anyway, I'll put her link to her Instagram here. I don't know her. She's just someone I stumbled upon on the internet a couple days ago. I love that. I love that about the internet. It's just that stumble upon aspect of magic where you can just suddenly find yourself on someone's page that feels like they are speaking directly to you, that they know how you see the world. It is magic. And I feel like that's the universe calling from one to another. That's resonance and synchronicity happening. That's magic. Anyway, I'm getting off topic, but that was the point. What I had been planning on doing was telling you about how I offer talking with the dead, quote unquote, dead services. Or you can hear about me chatting with dead celebrities over in the Holy Shit Handbook. So yeah, you can check out both of those things. Links are everywhere. The developmental arcs in those stories have wisdom for us. They will speak if you can apply them to the troubles in your life at the time. They will speak to you and offer wisdom about maybe what you're not seeing, what you're not believing, what you're not allowing. Because I find that we don't need to learn more necessarily. We have to dissolve the wrong things that we learned that keep us separated from ourselves and our spirit and our soul and from one another and from the earth, from the land. The societies and the institutions that have been created so far have been very fragmentary and very based on categorizing and separating into hierarchies. And that's not how the world wants to be. There is a new world that is coming into being right now, and I'll say that unequivocally. Now, it is the re-enchantment. Thank you, Justin, for that phrase. It is a re-enchantment, and Stella, thank you, Stella, for that phrase. It is a re-enchantment of the world, and it is happening as we heal and share our healing publicly with one another, and then show up in that healing, in that new presence in the world. We literally are transforming everything, and it's fucking beautiful. And part of this requires us in this dark time to go inside and to reflect and to hold at bay the distractions of this commercial capitalistic time that wants you to go into debt to show that you love, that wants you to create an exterior image of oneness and wholeness and love and acceptance and welcome, instead of actually being in wholeness and oneness and love and welcome. That's what's required.